So I've been using the Nikon ZF for a little while now, and this is a great combination of what looks like a retro camera, but on the inside, it has all the latest technology that Nikon has to offer. I'm talking things like in-body image stabilization, things like autofocusing system, lighting performance, and also just generally image quality and performance of what it's capable of. It takes some technology performance or advancement that we're seeing in the Nikon Z9 or the Z8 and mashes that up with this nice retro looking. So if you've used the Nikon FM2 before, you'll be very much familiar with some of this design language and elements that this has got. And I really like this camera overall. Let's talk about the design and all round what it feels like in hand when you start to use this camera. So on the front, as you can see, you have a few buttons there, here and there. So for example, want to release the actual lens once you get one attached to this. You got your focusing lights on the front as well, and the dial as well, that's nicely tactile, so you get nice clicky feedback. On the front, we have this nice leather looking finishing as well. And depending on where you get it from, you can either get it in this full black color or you can get it in different other colors as well. But like I said, it depends on the retailer and when you get it from. If you get it through Nikon directly, I believe you can get it other colors versus getting it from the retailer. Anyway, you have that big Nikon logo on the front as well. And let me just open this up so to reveal that sensor on the front. Looks really good. I love looking at that bit, but yeah, let's close it back up before we get dust in there. And then we get this grip here. This grip is something I have an issue with when it comes to the design of the camera itself. It's there, but it's not enough to grip on. So it's too small. I wish that was kind of chunkier or sticks out a bit more. Perhaps there will be accessories that you can buy for this, like my X100V, where you can get attachment to get better grip on the front, but yeah, that's my only issue with that. You get a magnesium alloy body here as well, so chassis rather, so that makes it quite robust and very strong, which is really good. On the right side, there's nothing there, just part of the grip for holding onto the camera. And on the left side is where we see some ports available. So we have the charging lights there, and then if we look underneath this rubber flaps, we have a USB-C ports for data transfer and charging up the camera again itself, so you can charge it while the battery is inside of the thing. And then you've got headphone ports, a micro HDMI, and a microphone ports as well. Shame that we don't get full HDMI here. That would have been better, because for me, that's what I've got all around the studio. So if I was to be using this as something that I film with, that would have been pretty much useful for me, rather than having to get another cable. But to be honest though, in my opinion, I think this is more of a photographer's camera than it is for filming, although this would shoot 4K videos as well at up to 60 frames per second or 1080p at 120 frames per second for the slow-mo footage that you want to get. So it is there if you want to do so. And then actually let's go on the bottom before we go on the back, which is where there's a lot going on. On the bottom there we have our battery slot. So your battery goes in there and you get two ports for camera as your memory card slot. So you have SD camera, you have SD card slot and a micro SD card slot as well. The micro SD is kind of interesting. I haven't seen that in a camera in a very long time, but that will be useful for those who want to plug it straight into their smartphone where it's compatible. We do get SD card reader there, but these things here would affect the read and write speed and things like your shutter when you press the frame rate, for the frame rates, if I can get my words out. So that would affect the speed at which it writes data. So that's another thing to consider. On the back, we have a bunch of buttons, so you've got the usual Nikon design. But one thing I love about this is this articulating or vari-angle screen here is also pretty good in the sense of they finished it in this leather finishing. So if you're that retro photographer and you don't want to have to see that screen all the time, you can just cover that up and it almost looks like it's just part of the body. It would be nice if it sits a bit more flush, but it is what it is. But this does articulate very, very, very well, so you can go all the way like that. You can even do top down. You can even use it to face you for those who like to vlog or take selfies. That will be useful in that sense. Close that back for a minute. We then get to the play button, bin button, some autofocus lock and exposure lock button on there, and some other buttons that you see all around it. Then you got your electronic viewfinder on the front, which is nice and bright as well. It's nice and accurate. I really like that. I'll leave numbers on screen for all the data in terms of the screen size and how many colors and pixel count and all that stuff. Up top is where we get some of the selection buttons available, which is very retro as well. And I think Nikon says these are actually brass, which means over time when it starts to fade, it reveals that brass color underneath it. But I'm not going to have this long enough to figure that out. We have this button on the side, sorry, dial on the side, which allows you to select from manual, aperture priorities, and so on, and auto. So the thing that's confusing on here sometimes, though, is when you look at the way that it is, you forget which side to push the thing, because there's one that tells you where it's actually pointing to, and the other one is actually what helps you select it. So that's something to bear in mind. And then we get the shutter speed dial on the right side and your ISO settings on the left side for your exposure settings. And this says 51-200 maximum, but actually you can go further than that in settings when you get into the camera settings. And then underneath the right side for the shutter speed, underneath that is another dial that allows you to select between black and white photography, your normal standard photography, and video mode. It's actually quite interesting to have a black and white mode. Something that I thought at first I'm never going to use, but I ended up using the black and white mode actually more than I thought I would use it for. So that's pretty cool. It brings out some really nice contrast level, and the lighting, the way you play with lights when it comes to black and white photography is actually quite fun. So that was really good to have on there. There's also a little digital area here where you can see your f-stop numbers, so that's really cool in case you don't want to keep looking at through there and stuff. It's all there for you to see. And then up top, what's also pretty cool is that shutter button as a thread for shutter release, which is quite retro. So if you're someone who shoots old school camera or film camera, that would be quite cool to see and to have on there. And you have your record button on there as well. So that's pretty much it. It's not overwhelming in terms of the dials and the way everything's laid out. I think it's very much easy, within reach, and it's really nice and easy to use. I kind of like just doing that whole, like when you're taking photos and I got two fingers here, just rotating things, getting my settings right. I kind of like that when I've been shooting with this. So yeah, I really love the look of the camera in terms of the design. The body feels nice and solid. It's not too lightweight, it's not too heavy, it just feels about right. Although my only qualms would be literally just to do with that grip. I wish that was better in terms of grip. There's almost nothing there. I can almost not able to grip the camera using that area there at all. But yeah, let's talk more about the settings and the performance. So we have a sensor here that's 25.4 megapixel with up to 60 frames per second, depending on what mode you have this in. And it has its limitations as well, which I'll talk through when we get into the settings. It's rocking the latest X-Speed 7 processor, so you can expect really good processing performance here. It's the same you find in Nikon Z8 and I think the Z9 as well. So that sort of processing prowess you would get inside the ZF as well. And you get 8-stop AI-assisted vibration reduction, which is good for stabilization. And it's highly capable in terms of autofocus. You're looking at 299 points autofocus system here. It's around 273 points when you have it in single point AF mode. The autofocus system uses hybrid face detection and contrast autofocus system with autofocus assist. So one thing that's really cool on here is when you have it in different subject mode in terms of recognition, whether it's human recognition, cars, planes, etc. You can have that on as well as your manual mode on the lens. So that way it can assist you to make sure you're still getting the right, you're getting your focus right, even when you're focusing manually. When it comes to video, you can shoot 4K at 30 frames per second. You can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second with 1.5x crop. Yeah, slow motion video capture, like I said before, at 120 frames per second, but this is only available in 1080p. You can shoot H.265 8-bit or 10-bit, and you can also shoot H.264 8-bit codec on here. You can shoot your video in standard mode, or you can shoot H-log or N-log on here as well. So N-log would allow you to do some color profile correction, color correction, or color whatever you want to do at LUTs and all that kind of stuff. So it just allows you to preserve the color and the contrast and the light levels that you have when you shoot your video. So those options are there. But like I said, for me, this is more of a photographer's equipment or tool than it is a videographer's, in my opinion. But it can do both if you really want to shoot with this. The battery used on here is the Nikon EN-EL15C. Do all that information what you will, but that's the battery that you get in here. Let's just put that in here, and then we can have a look at the menu layouts and see how easy it is as well to familiarize yourself with very quickly. It didn't take me long at all to find things that I need to find, even though I'm not a regular Nikon user. I also have this cleaning cloth that's built into my hoodie, which is pretty cool. Just wipe that. So in the menu settings, things are very easy to get on with and navigate. So if we go into menu here, we go all the way to the top, start from the top. So you got your camera, your photo shooting menu, where you can reset your menu completely. You can change file naming system. You can change your SD card selection. So your primary one here at the moment, well, my primary one is that SD card slot. So it's also a touch screen, so you can also touch it as well if you wish to do so. You've got your secondary slot function, which allows you to do overflow, backup. You can shoot RAW to one, JPEG to the other. Again, making it very easy to use, which I like. So we go back. You've got your imaging area, so you can choose your area there. Then you got image quality. So here you can choose all these options there, from RAW JPEG fine, RAW JPEG normal, etc. You got RAW on its own. Got JPEG, different formats as well. So you can select which one you need depending on what you're shooting, what the purpose is, and also how much space you actually have left on your storage. So for example, if you're just shooting for social media, you can just shoot a JPEG, save some space, easy to transfer very quickly, or faster to transfer actually to your smartphone, and then start shooting that way. Got image size settings, so you can choose things like large, medium, etc. for your JPEG. Got your white balance settings, picture control. Here you can choose different looks. So you got monochrome, standard, neutral, etc. There's loads of like creative picture control options as well, like dream, pop. They're basically like filters that's baked into here. So you can select which one suits your preference if you want to do that. But I usually just leave it at normal. I don't need to change that at all because I do all the editing afterwards. Then you have things like your focusing mode, release mode, and all that kind of stuff. But where I want to point to here is your subject option. So you have auto, you have people, you have animal, you have vehicle, you have airplanes, or you can just turn it off completely. But I tend to have it on people because that's what I mainly shoot. And when I'm just out and about and things are moving very quickly, I don't want to keep selecting people, then I put it on auto, which means I get a mixture of all the options available. In video settings, you have the same again in terms of file naming and the destination of where you want your files recorded. And then we've got things like video type. So this is your codec. So we have your SDR mode, which is H.265 10-bit movie. You got 8 bits as well, and you got 8-bit MP4. So you can select which one suits your preference again. And then you got your frame rate, which is where you can choose that 4K 60, again, depending on which codec you're using. And you can go all the way down to that 120 frames per second at 1080p. ISO sensitivity is where you can change from that 51-200 and go all the way to the maximum level that you can possibly have it. I think you can do like 64,000 or so. Video recording also supports that subject detection option. So in the video settings, you can also select what you prefer. But for video, I tend to have people when I'm shooting videos for, you know, moving, a lot of people moving and stuff, but otherwise auto. Auto works really well as well in terms of noting that it's people versus cat or whatever you're shooting. So you can just leave it at auto when it comes to video. Other than that, it's very simple and straightforward to use. There are other menu options on there that's very not new to Nikon users. And if you were to get one of these, you can just go through them and check which settings that you need to make sure you're getting the best photos or videos possible. Or you can drop a comment below and ask me and I can go through this and tell you if it's there or not. But those are the key things I wanted to show in the menus, in the menu setting, so you know that it's there for you. Onto imaging quality, I think this performs really well. There's no issues that I've had with this that I'm worried about or concerned about, whether it's low light situations, whether it's bright light situations for dynamic range and getting the skin temperature and skin color very good and accurate as possible. I think it does really well, no matter what I was shooting, what subject I was shooting. And when it comes to shooting black and white as well, I think it looks fantastic. It becomes very fun, a lot of fun to shoot in because you get that lighting that looks really good, the contrast level, the shadows, it just looks really well. The reproduction there looks really good. For video, I didn't really use it much for videos, but one clip that I shot, which I'm gonna try and put on the video if I can find it. That's another one that looks good as well. This is compatible with Z-mount lenses, so if you have Nikon that supports Z-mount lenses already, you can use that with this body, so you don't have to go and buy a whole bunch of lenses at all. But in terms of picture quality and image quality, I think it looks fantastic. I love shooting with this, with little to no editing to do afterwards. If there's any editing that I was doing afterwards, it'd be like just to bring the brightness level up a little bit and maybe remove some of the shadows a little bit. But other than that, it's so accurate. The autofocus system is really good as well in terms of tracking the eyes and making sure that everything that needs to be in focus is pretty much in focus. This will make a really good camera for those who like to shoot events. You don't want to carry a heavy system with you. This is great. If you're traveling, this is good as well for street photography, provided you use the right lenses for street photography, although that's subjective. But yeah, so you can get those lens system and attach it to this and get really good quality. But other than that, I don't have anything like bad to say about the performance in terms of image quality and generally the way it performs. The frame rate is really good as well in terms of how much you can shoot. So if you're shooting a model, for example, and they're moving, you can still use this for fashion photography. Although I wouldn't say use this for sports photography. It's not where I'd go, because then the memory card becomes an issue, becomes an issue with the buffering on there as well. So you can press and hold it and it goes, and then after a while, you start to notice that buffering and lag there. So that's a limitation of using those memory card system in here. But that's actually, I think I forgot to show you guys the frame rate and what you can actually get on here. So to check that, actually, you can just press the I on the back and it quickly shows you a quick menu so you can select some of the settings available. So things like your vibration reductions there. And then if we go to release mode, we can shoot things like single frame. You got continuous L. Under that, you can go further down and choose how many frame rate you want. So up to Here you can shoot up to 7 frames per second there. If you go back, you got high, continuous high, which doesn't give you any option underneath that. You then have continuous high extended. Then you got the C30, which is the 30 frames per second, which becomes a bit like digital. You don't hear the shutter going off on that one. But if you go back to high, you can hear it go. So it's not so fast that you're going to start using it for sports photography, but it's there if you need to. But that's how you change that very quickly. And then you got things like self-timer, and you can change the timing on that as well to do with how quickly you can move from the camera to when it actually goes off. But yeah, so much options there, so much to play with. Such a really good camera all around. I love the retro look. I love how easy it is to get on with. And I love that you get really good photography, like imaging quality out of this, whether it's photos or videos, it's all there for you. And I think it's reasonably priced as well. I think around £2,000 here in the UK, you are getting a really good camera for your money. Especially this is full frame. If I haven't said that, the whole video, it's full frame. Amazing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions, drop them there as well, and I do my best to answer those. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.